Yeah, and when you obviously you spend most of your time looking at traditional markets, and when you first saw sort of applications tick in on a Bitcoin ETF to the SEC, what was sort of your reaction to that? Did that make sense? And yeah, what was your initial reaction?
Sure. Well, I guess to your point, when I first learned about crypto, it was actually, prior to my being in an ETF and index seat. But I think where my head really was around the impact of permissioned blockchains in particular to lots of parts of financial services. My kind of prior world was in the derivatives market, so lots of areas where there was definitely a need for reduced friction, counterparty trust, more transparency. So I think, at the time, again, very much kind of supportive of work that was unfolding across the industry around permissioned blockchains. And when, talks started happening around crypto ETFs, and this was even prior to applications being submitted to the SEC, I was actually pretty surprised, because one of the things that makes me so excited about the ETF is the fact that it provides access to, hard to access, expensive to access, or even inaccessible markets. And, crypto is like pretty transparent and accessible. That's the promise of crypto. It doesn't take too long to, I timed myself once, and I think it took me like less than 2 minutes to set up an app on my phone, link my bank account, and trade something. And so that was my first reaction, like, what is the incremental value the ETF wrapper offers to crypto? And I think subsequent to that, one of the things I've learned that I hope is also a theme and a takeaway from this conversation is the real importance to investors of interoperability. Like, it's an easy thing for a personal investor to set up something and access a new asset class, but actually for institutional investors to kind of adopt and due diligence on a whole new market structure is quite difficult. So the ETP wrapper, and we would call it actually an ETP, exchange traded product, versus ETF, because it's not actually a fund in this case. But that wrapper does have the benefit of providing these kind of legacy, well-traveled on-ramps and off-ramps. So but that's kind of what my journey has been around it. And I should add, though, since you mentioned the SEC applications in particular, again, the importance of investors understanding what they're buying. Because in the case of the US, many of you may know this, spot crypto ETPs or exchange traded commodities, ETCs, aren't available in the US. So what is available are futures based Bitcoin ETFs. And from our perspective then, an investor who is looking to get spot Bitcoin exposure needs to understand that given the regulatory position limits for Bitcoin futures, they won't get that exposure in a futures-based ETF. So from our perspective, it wouldn't be, it wouldn't meet what I think investors are looking for in a Bitcoin ETF.